Well, hello. My first live stream. It's a sneaky one because I'm testing it out, and it's basically just me living by myself. Anyway, enough of that. I just wanted to take a moment to say thank you to everyone who's joined me on this journey of authenticity with profoundly silly wisdom, with setting up the channel. I've done 3 videos now. So thanks to all of you who viewed them and who've fed back to me about them. And I just wanted to wish you all a happy holiday. Whatever you're celebrating, I hope you take time for yourself over the next week or two to rest and recuperate. I'm going to do the same, actually. So I'll be back in 2024. So that's about it, really, in terms of sort of announcements, and also just giving myself the chance to try live. So thanks for going through that new experience with me as well. But yeah, I did also ask my soul. I said, is there anything that I could share with the community before I take this time just to rest, but also to think, to assess how the last few weeks have been, because I've only been going a few weeks. We've only been going a few weeks. So before I have that moment sort of privacy, if you like, what message can I share with everyone? And so this is my moment also to come out of the tarot closet. I didn't think I'd be doing that on YouTube, to be honest. But we might as well just be our authentic selves if that's what our channel is about. So the cards I picked, and I don't know if you're familiar with tarot, it doesn't matter if you're not. The first one, or the context card, I have a particular way of reading it, is the make sure you can see it, is the 7 of Swords, and then the main message, if you like, in the way that I particularly read tarot, is the 9 of Swords. Now, as you can see, that lady doesn't look too happy, and I felt like the message was basically aimed at people who are feeling stressed, because as you can see, I'm going to do a lot of waving around and holding things up to the camera, which hopefully you can see okay. So basically, swords in the tarot mean it's to do with thoughts, and particularly intellect and beliefs and those kinds of mental constructs. You can imagine swords are quite, they're quite, they're metallic, so they're hard sort of objects and quite jagged objects, and thoughts can be like that in a way. And if you see the 9, there are 9 swords here, and they're all wedged together quite tightly. And sometimes sometimes our thoughts feel like that. It just feels like this whole kind of mess of thinking. And so this woman is stressed, obviously. You can see she's sitting up in bed. And she's obviously just woken up. She's probably had a nightmare, or maybe she couldn't even sleep because she was so stressed. And so I just felt like the message today is for people, whether you're stressed about what's going on in the world, there's a lot that we can focus on that potentially is quite triggering, or whether it's a personal situation, a relationship situation, or you don't know where you're going with your career. Or it could be any kind of, or maybe it's something that's happening in your family, or a health situation, for example. But whatever is stressing you out, there are a few messages for you in this card, because basically what this card is kind of saying is that it's showing how we get blocked in by our fears. What you might not be able to see is on the bottom of this. So this is her bed frame. It's a wooden bed frame. But there's a picture on there of, it looks like a scene from a fight. It looks like someone is lunging at somebody else. So it's quite, it's quite a fearful scene. It's a scene of conflict, not something you'd want to be ruminating on, or certainly sleeping on, actually. And that kind of reminds me of the survival, the survival kind of triggers that we experience, the stress response that we experience when we feel threatened, because it's that survival response. And that's what happens. So if you think of the swords, they're like our conditioned mind. They're the way our mind, it's the stories and the beliefs that we hold in our mind that cause us to interpret life in a certain way. And I know I've said this before, and many other people have said it. It's not actually, the Stoics actually said it many, many centuries ago. Experience that causes you to feel stressed. It's actually meaning you give it. And the best example I can give you to prove that that's true is like what I call the alarm clock test. How many times in your life, I remember when I was working and commuting and required an alarm clock to get me up and out of bed each day. How many times have you had that experience where your alarm has woken you up? And then you think, oh no, it's like it's, or you missed your alarm. This is even better. You've missed your alarm. Basically, you wake up in a fright, you know, and you look at the time, it's 8 o'clock. There's no way I can get to work on time. And you have this massive panic, you know, so all the stress, you know, this is your stress response in action, you know, all the cortisol, epinephrine, and all of those nice stressy hormones are you know, going around your system, and you're sweaty and shaky and all those other things. And basically 2 seconds later you think, oh, hold on a minute, what day is it? And then you realize it's a Saturday. And then suddenly you're like, oh. You realize, oh no, it's not, I don't have to be anywhere. It's actually fine. I'm just waking up on a Saturday morning and I can do whatever I like, you know. And that's the perfect example of how basically it's the meaning we assign things. That it's not the fact that the alarm clock went off at a particular time or didn't go off at a particular time. It's what our mind does with that information. So what our mind does with the things that are happening around us, the things that we observe. And also, you know, what we expect to see. So our beliefs also determine what we notice, because like I've said before, when we're in that response, in that stress response, then we tend to notice the things that, you know, we're looking out for, like, so that, you know, we can protect ourselves. And this is kind of like the message with the card. It's like she's got very, very caught up in her own thinking, basically, and it's causing her, you know, it's so distressing that she actually can't look. She doesn't want to look at what's happening in the world. And this is what, you know, stress, an overload of stress does to us. It shuts us down. But if you can see underneath her, well, she's actually sitting on a pink mattress. Now, pink for me symbolizes unconditional love. So she's sitting, you know, although she has this sort of natural kind of, you know, automatic response that's wired in, obviously, for physical survival, but because, you know, so she's got that, but what she can't see is that she's got, you know, she's sitting on unconditional love, and unconditional love is actually our nature. But we can't feel it or experience it when we're cut off, because we literally shut ourselves off from the sort of more expanded us, which is the intuitive mind, if you like, or the soul that is connected to everything else. You know, this is scientific stuff. You know, it's the quantum field that we're talking about, being connected in, you know, beyond actual space and time. But she can't access any of that. Also on the quilt are roses. Oh, they look like roses, but they're lovely red flowers anyway, which again emphasizes the love, you know, aspect. And on you definitely won't get to see that, but on these little blue patches are zodiac signs. So that's basically, to me, that's saying, you know, you are actually guided in every moment. There is a reason for you being here, and there is actually a purpose for your life. You know, your soul, if you like, has a plan, you know, and your intuitive mind is connected in to, you know, the intelligent universe, essentially, because the universe is orderly. You know, the planets spin, stay in the cosmos in their place. You know, there's an order to everything, and when we're in that expanded state, we are able to tune into that. We all know that feeling of flow, don't we? when life just seems to flow, all the green lights in the traffic lights seem to they will go green when we turn. It's a really, and we've Mike sent me high, I think his name was, wrote a lot about flow, being in that flow state. And that's the expanded state that we're talking about. When I'm talking about tuning into your intuition as a way to be your authentic self, I'm talking about tuning into this flow state, which is your nature. So basically she's shutting herself shutting herself off from all of that, because her conditioning, the stories that her culture has programmed into her, the stories that her upbringing has programmed into her, and what she's, also made out of the experiences that she's had in life through that lens, are causing her to feel, I'm just unsafe. It's all a disaster. And that's basically what happens to us. And I think the basic message for this is, that if you are going through that kind of experience where you're really, really stressed, just know that even though, like this lady, you may feel like this, you feel it's all against you, you may not be able to work out, and you won't, if you are in your stress response, it pulls all of the blood away from your prefrontal cortex. So all of your ability to reason and come up with, good solutions, creative solutions to things, you're not able to do that in that state. But know that actually your true expanded self is still connected, even if you feel disconnected in this moment. So I felt like that was the message. And just briefly, the Seven of Swords. So they're both swords cards. So it's definitely about our thinking. That's what we're being, that's where the attention is being drawn to, our thoughts, and particularly our mental constructs, our conditioning. But so the 6, obviously 6 is less than 9. I believe, it's been a while since I did maths, but I think that's, I think that's correct. So if you can see here, so there are 3, I'm getting really good at this, 3 less swords in this card. Now, what this card, means in the tarot, I mean, it can be cards can mean a few things. It's not just one thing, but the theme, this can be like a rite of passage. And to me, and as you can see here, the water behind them is pretty rippled, and that talks about the emotions, if you like. It's the stress, of what you're leaving behind, and you're moving towards. You can see this nice little shore with rather, cozy, cute looking trees, and the bluey color sort of suggests maybe, it's the early hours of the morning. So perhaps you've had a bit of a crisis and you're sort of moving on. But these shores, to me, in this context, present our authenticity. This is what we're moving towards. We're leaving behind that old way of living, which was just reacting based on our conditioning. We're moving to being our authentic self. And so, yes, so there are 3 less swords, and as you can see, there is a gap. So this is what starts to happen as we start to recognize, my experience is being created by my thoughts, by my mind, my conditioned mind. But actually, there's a wisdom beyond that. And once you start to observe that, and make space for yourself to see how your mind works, gaps start to appear. And in those gaps, that's when you start to sense more of your intuition. So that's the journey that we're going on. So I'm hoping, that message, that very short message, is helpful to you. And yeah, I hope you continue with me on this journey. But even if you don't, I believe that this is kind of what we're being called to, with all of the chaos in the world right now. We kind of have a choice. We either stay in this with our old conditioning, which is all based around old beliefs, about them and us, separation, fear, fighting to sustain, your position in the world, or we move to something different, something based on our actual, our authentic self, rather than just all the stories and the rules that we've been given. Because I think it's not difficult to, it's not difficult to see that they don't really work. These systems and these structures crumble, and we have a choice. We either just react out our conditioning and either do what this lady is doing, which is just completely close yourself off, or you actually start to see through what's happening and start making that journey of tuning into your authentic self and finding a new way forward. And that will be a new way based on the unconditional love, and the fact that we are, as science, as quantum physics tells us, at the most fundamental level, we are all connected. We are all energy, and what is me? I'm a field of consciousness from that point of view, that is connected into everything else. So that's the message for today. Thanks for letting me out myself in public, as you do, whatever. And I hope that you find time for yourself. It's a sort of irony, especially in the Northern Hemisphere, where it's solstice, so that, that's good news, by the way. It's solstice, so that if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, it means the shortest day. We've now reached the shortest day, and the days are lengthening after that. But this is a time really when nature is telling us to slow down and take moments. So slightly ironic that we get so frenetic towards the the end of the year. But if you can find moments for yourself to just decompress and just breathe, and create some space in between all of that crazy thinking. Don't engage with it. Just allow your thoughts to settle by allowing yourself to relax, to breathe, meditate, walk in nature, do whatever is helpful for you, just to give yourself a bit of nurture and opportunity to actually experience your expanded self. So thanks for everything that we've been through so far, and I look forward to seeing you on the other side.